Now it's time for our first guest of the day. Looking at what happens in other parts of the world is always a great way to learn and react better. We heard last week from Gorg of Chewy.com about the situation in Asia. This week we have Francesca from Hemnet. Hamnet is the leading real estate portal in Sweden. Francesca Cortesi is the acting Chief Product Officer of Hamnet since September 2019. She has more than 10 years experience working with agile product development and helping companies build successful product management organizations. Francesca will share great insights on the online real estate industry and the products that Hamnet launched to support their clients during this time. Welcome, Francesca.
Thank you, Nanette, for the introduction, and hi, everyone. It's really great to be here and share some data. I thought that I would go through my presentation first, a little introduction about Hamnet and who we are in the market in Sweden, and then we also have like pretty special data about the market and the property real estate in Sweden that I want to share. Especially because we never saw a lockdown. So this data might be some trend that you will be seeing now that the lockdown has been lifted in a part of the countries. And I will end sharing some insight about our digital open houses. So if we can go to next slide, please. I'll tell you a little bit about, the next one, about Hamnet. And Hamnet is the biggest property portal in Sweden, has been founded in 1998 by the broker community. And since then has been growing a lot. We can say that we are the market leader in Sweden with 3.1 million unique visitors per week, which also puts us in the top 5 most visited website of the country. We have a really strong brand recognition, so 98% among those who want to sell or buy an apartment or a property in Sweden knows about Hamnet. It's also good to mention that we don't have a rental section in our website, but it's just buying and selling. And this is mainly private properties, but we also have commercial properties. All our listing go through registered licensed brokers, and we can say that basically all the properties that are sold in Sweden go through Hamnet. So we have 91% of the sold properties goes through our portal, and we see ourselves as the market in Sweden. We have a role in facilitating basically the connection between property buyers and property sellers, of course, like through brokers by providing them qualitative leads. So that's our mission. And not only, if we go to next slide, we also are really proud of saying that we are the most popular property portal in the world. So there was this survey done by the AIM group that was released in November. And if you consider the number of people living in a country and the number of people using a portal, then we are by far the most popular. That's why I think it could be interesting for you, even if the market is pretty different, to hear some data about how it's going here in Sweden. And if we go 2 slides ahead, I'm gonna start talk about the macro trends that we have been seeing since COVID-19. A little bit of context. In Sweden, we never had a full lockdown. Government has been giving some recommendation to people to remain to practice social distancing. There's no possibility of gathering for more than 50 people. So cinemas and parks and big events are closed, of course, but there was no lockdown in the country. And also to give a context, in the whole country, the most affected areas by the COVID-19 are the big cities. So especially Stockholm and Gothenburg, which are also the places where there's the majority of real estate transaction. So if we go to next slide, we can start talking about and showing data about Hamnet. So on the left side, you see this graph is, I would say, that is pretty unique in the world right now. This is traffic that we have had on site. The red line is 2020 and the blue line is 2019. And you see that we never had any kind of decrease in traffic, quite the opposite. The time spent is going just steadily up, which is a sign that the demand and the interest is staying high. Even now that people are more home, there's also more time to browse. Hamnet has been also like a website people use to browse around to get inspiration as well. So that's why our curve is going up, and we have not seen any deflection right now. The point that is going down a little bit, it's because in Sweden there was Easter holidays, so when that is normal seasonal fluctuation. On the right side, you see the number of listing, a new incoming listing on the portal. There we see a clear decrease, but still the number of listing are higher compared to April 2019. This is where we will be expecting a drop actually, because we are seeing a market that is really stressed. So all the sellers that were ready to sell, they anticipated the sales already in April, not waiting for May when it's normally peak season here in Sweden. And we will see, like data will tell us in the next couple of weeks how that curve will look like. But so far, the inflow is still steady. And if we go to next slide, I can go a little bit deeper how it looks like on the different points. So new apartments are like still coming in, and the supply is growing. This is really interesting what Lynette talked about villas, because we see the same trend here. People are looking into buying bigger villas and places that are a little bit outside of the big cities, but with more space. I guess that people are valuing the extra room or the garden for their children that is really uncertain if we will be able to travel. Even in the country, but outside of the country. On the contrary, and that is the left graph, new construction is going down a little bit. So the light green, it's the old Sweden, and the dark green is Stockholm. And we see that there's not so much supply of new construction, and there has been a little bit of lagging, which is also due to this COVID-19 repercussion. On the right side, we have sold apartment. Here we see the three other graphs are really connected, because these are connected with transactions. So we have a lot of supply. People that were ready to sell are selling, which also means there is a lot to choose from. This has created a lot of demand for the value-added services. So like to make your listing stand out in this time. So we have a really high conversion rate for our added value services for our listing. We're also seeing that transactions are either happening super quickly or lagging a little bit. So it's like the two extreme of the spectrum. In Stockholm, we measure the all-time high quickest transaction ever. It was 12 days from publication to sold property. And this is because there's uncertainty and people want to actually finish their transaction quickly, because you don't know what's happening or if the new measure could come in. There's also, though, an adjustment in prices. So this transaction happened quickly, and mostly because the sellers are maybe willing to go down a little bit in prices. And this is demonstrated by the difference between listed price and selling price. Sweden is a bidding country, so when you list a property, you start with a listed price, and then you bid higher. And I mean, the hotter the bidding is, the higher the final price is. And normally, when the market is really hot, we have really hot bidding. But now the bidding is not. It's not so hot anymore. So it's more about finding the middle way for sellers and buyers to meet. But in general, the market is quite stressed. All those graphs are an indication of this. And is evolving into a buyer market. So it's more the buyers that are dictating the prices. And before the COVID was more of a seller market. So the sellers could really like just decide to bring up the price as much as they wanted. This is also though an opportunity because it gives people that have not are not owning a property right now a possibility to come into the market. So that is also something that it's interesting for us to follow. And if we go to next slide, we have what we think about will happen about prices. We call a Hamnet shop barometer, which is a really complicated Swedish word, which means buyer barometers. So we ask the buyers what they think about the prices, if the prices will go up or it will go down. So the red one is the amount of buyers that think that the prices will go down, and the green one is the one that thinks that prices will go up. And if you look at the beginning of the year, we had the clear majority, a clear trend about people thinking that the prices will go up. We had an extremely high amount of transactions on Hamnet. And then it's clear in March, that is in the beginning when we started seeing the first signs of COVID-19, that the trend shifted completely. So now it's more than 50% that think that the prices will go down, which is of course will affect the market in a negative way. So we think that the prices of the real estate will go down in Sweden because it's a combination of anxiety and economic situation. The risk for unemployment are getting higher. And there's also this unknown of how long the situation will go on. Here in Sweden, government is talking about end of the year. So we see something that is like going on for a while. So we see that it's going to be at least a short-term prices decrease, but we also think there's going to be a quick rebound. Some analysts at Hamnet already believe that it's going to be in after summer, that we can already see signs, a positive sign of recovery. And this is because Sweden is a pretty peculiar market. So in Sweden, you buy for living. So basically, you don't buy for investment, for speculative investment. The low interest rates of the banks, plus they've been released some packages to help the property market staying alive, and the demand is really high. And I mean, people that were buying and selling before March, they needed to do it, and I mean that need is not going away just because of the COVID. So we really believe that there's need, and they will continue like that. So that is generally the data we see about the Swedish situation. Now I want to touch upon what we've been doing. If we go please to next slide, and what we call Hamnet Live, which is online open houses, and which we launched basically straight away in the beginning of March. If we could go please to next slide, I will show you quickly how it looks like. We don't have a separate app as you do for brokers, but we have one consumer app, which is where we show the online open houses. So if you look at this visual from the left, we show there is it's a little bit tiny, but you can see a tag that shows there is a scheduled online open house, a time on a specific day and time, and that is shown on all the listing, both on the result list, so when you search for property, and then the property page. This tag becomes red and more visible when the online open house is actually happening. So consumer can see it. They also get notification and alert if they have their property saved in their searches. You have then the screen, the green screen, the third one. It's where we collect buyer leads, where they can fill in their information if they're interested about the properties. And then we have the actual viewing, which is the last visual. And there is we really saw that a really big thing for this to work is the chat. So giving the people the possibility of feeling like it is a real open house. So the brokers that were able to put a lot of energy and like talk through the property, describing, opening, I don't know, opening shelves, or like talking about the unique peculiarity of the properties, were the ones that were able to engage better their audience, and they were the ones that were more successful. So that's definitely something that we're seeing, like a lot of energy. The more energy you put into it, the more it feels like entertaining, and the more you will have people interested. If you go to next slide, I will summarize a little bit what is Hamnet Live. Hamnet Live, it's Hamnet contribution to keep going in the open houses. As I said, the market is not under lockdown. but still people are really cautious about meeting, and they are really quickly adapting to the new situation. So this non-physical open house, it's a really good complement for the physical open house. We see that is an extra step in the buyer's funnel when they can start screening properties, and also maybe they can start even talking about villas and properties that maybe are second houses. They can start, we saw that they're using this a lot to visit properties that are in the south of Sweden that they will use as a summer house. So that's really, so they cannot travel there at this point, and they want to see, because I mean, they're not just buying without seeing anything. So they will start screening with the non-physical open houses, and then contact the brokers to actually go and see them if it's interesting. Really key is the interaction, as I said. And also for us, it was really key that the whole experience was super smooth. So the broker gets directly after the open house is ended buyer leads, so they can exactly do and continue with their how they used to contacting and the prospect and so on. And what we did is we integrated this service in our main app and in all our main channels, and we are free of charge. So it's part of our Hamnet business package. Last but not least, if we go to LastSlice, there's some number about the usage that might be interesting for you. We launched this 21st of March, so basically 10 days. The first week after COVID was impacting Sweden. We have had 634 online open houses from 200 agents spread around the country. Agents are really satisfied, so we got 5.5 out of 7 rate. People look, as Annette was saying, a long time to these open houses, so at least 5 minutes. Their normal, the average length is 20 minutes, but the majority of brokers do a shorter, so 15 minutes, 10 to 15 minutes is the normal length. And we can see that the agents are really happy. We also have a case, really special one, but still worth mentioning, of an agent that got a bid from an online open house, so without even seeing in reality, I want to say, physically the property. So this together, we also enhanced our possibility with video and 3D. I would say this is really key for the next phase of the COVID situation, because people will be more scared and will be more uncertain to actually go physically to a property. So this could be a really great complement, and for us, it's been working great so far. If you have any more questions, we can take those in Q&A, and I'll talk to you later. Leave it to the next guest.
Thank you, Francesca, for the presentation. Amazing insights here, and obviously live viewings or live open houses is the future for real estate portals going forward. So again, Francesca will be with us for the Q&A at the end of the presentation. So if you have any questions, just put them here in the question box. Just like Hamnet, we have also developed innovative products to support you during this time. We talked about live viewings in our previous webinars and our House Hunt from Home initiative, which has resulted in 3 times more increase in creating leads for you. So for all of you on this webinar and for all of your agents, we will be presenting a new webinar called Product Hour by Property Finder. And the first one will be this Thursday at 11 a.m., where you can learn about our new products and features to help you close more deals. So keep an eye out for the invitation in your email. Okay, my next question is for Francesca. Francesca, since there was no complete lockdown in Sweden, how were real estate agencies impacted?
I would say that there was no lockdown, but I mean, it's really different situation depending on the country. I mean, in north of Sweden, where basically there's no virus, the situation is pretty much the same. There might be a long tail effect connected with the economical situation. Like, for example, Volvo Cars has been closing down a couple of of their offices, and I mean there are some cities that are really connected to it, so there will be like difficult in economics there. But I mean, in Stockholm, the major impact has been like adapting to these new ways of working. So the agency that are quicker in adapting with digital open houses, or providing 3D or videos, or even on the other side to lock in sellers to give instant valuations. These are the ones that are doing better. So I would say that the main impact is like the survival of the ones that adapt the fastest. That's the trends that we're seeing. But so far, of course, the impact has not been as severe as in other countries where there was been. I'm from Italy. I mean, there has been a lockdown for 2 months. Yeah. So definitely, it's a different situation.
Absolutely. Thank you very much, Francesca.